So have you ever considered taking a transatlantic cruise, but you weren't sure if it's worth it? Maybe you've wondered and you don't know where to start planning. Maybe you thought it was too expensive or worried that you might get bored on sea days. We're here to tell you it's absolutely worth it. So in today's video, we're going to give you 10 reasons why transatlantic cruises are actually better than regular cruises. We're Luis and
Jen.
If you've been following along, you know we just got back from 3-day sailing in Carnival Cruise Line. Prior to that, our previous cruise was 6 days, also in Carnival. And we're about to do a third transatlantic, and we are absolutely hooked. So whether you're sailing eastbound, westbound, we're going to talk about why these longer voyages are unique, some of the experiences you won't find anywhere. So yeah, stay tuned because this might just be, after watching this might be your new favorite way to travel.
Yeah, and I just want to preface this by saying that as far as Transatlantics, we've only ever done those with Disney Cruise Line, but most of the reasons we're going to give you today will apply to any major company that offers transatlantic sailings. So just keep that in mind.
Yes. So let's get right on it. Reason number one, my favorite reason, as someone that does the finances in the house and pays all the bills. Number one reason why you want to do transatlantic cruises, they're actually cheaper per night than shorter cruises. That's right.
Crazy.
I know, believe it or not. So if you want to get the best value for your buck, this is the way to do it. We're talking about 12 to 14 nights of food, entertainment, and activities. And typically they're going to be about the same price as those 7-day Bahamian cruises, which sounds crazy, but that's the reality. We've done a few of them, and we can attest they're about the same price as the week ones.
Yeah, and we're talking for like same room type to same room type too. We're not talking like, you know, an interior room versus like a balcony. Like we've stayed in ocean view rooms every time. Pricing is similar.
Yeah, and just to give you a quick preview, I mean, you can look this up if you want, but this is our third one now, and we paid under $5,000 for 3 of us, and we've always gotten at least an ocean view room. So that works out for those that have math degrees, about $350 to $400 a night, which in the US, with the economy the way it is, to pay $350 to $400 a night for a hotel that includes food, entertainment,
and childcare too.
Plus childcare.
Yeah,
you're
not getting that anywhere else.
If you do find that, let me know where. You're not gonna find that. So yes, they're the best bang for your buck. So reason number one.
So second reason, and this one's a little more specific to Disney, are the unique character meet and greets and entertainment. So obviously one of the perks of a Disney cruise is that you get to interact with the characters and have those special photo ops. Usually the lines aren't as long as they are in the parks. It's much more organized. And on the transatlantic sailings that we've been on, there are some kind of like special photo opportunities. So some examples that come to mind, when we were in Spain, there was like a Goofy dressed up in a matador costume. There was like a Spanish Minnie Mouse, just different things like that and different photo ops that you're not going to get at the park. So if that's important to you, that's something that you will definitely see on the transatlantic cruise.
Or just if you want something that's unique that you won't see at the parks, you'll get it at these special sailings. We also did the 25th anniversary.
Yes.
And it was all unique
special outfits, special photo opportunities. There was one where I think it was Goofy was dressed up in like a skiing outfit. Like I've never seen that anywhere else before. So just some unique opportunities. And then in terms of the entertainment too, there's a lot more entertainment because they're filling something every single night. So whereas on your 7-day, 3-day cruises, you know, they might have a couple shows like the Broadway style shows, things like that. On the longer cruise, we've had everything from like magicians, comedians, plus the Broadway style shows. And then one of our favorite things that they've had on both the sailings we've done is like a Beatles tribute band. And they did like a family-friendly show and then a more like adult-oriented show too. So lots of entertainment to keep you busy.
Yeah, I believe the way that works, the reason they can do that is because they're going away from the initial port destination. So basically, they'll bring in entertainers for like a few days, and then before actually starting the sailing, they get off and then they bring new ones. So they're just rotating more. Whereas if you're doing like a round trip, you don't usually get that opportunity to do so. Usually, the crew that gets on, that's the same one that's going to be there throughout the duration of the sailing.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on to reason number 3, unique port stops and scenic moments. So what do we mean by that? So on the transatlantic ones, you're gonna get some port stops that are unique. So for example, the Azores, Ponta Delgada, like you don't usually only get these in transatlantic ones.
Bermuda,
because even in the European ones, when once it heads to Europe, right, there's some unique port stops that'll do like Mediterranean, the Norwegian area, Scandinavia. But on the transatlantic ones, you don't get like these small Portuguese islands, so that's unique. Another one, if you're going east, you actually go through the, and I'm gonna butcher the term here, but the passage of Gibraltar. Yes, so you get to see that. That's kind of cool because usually those end in Barcelona. So yes, there's gonna be some unique sailings that you only get, some unique ports that are only available on the transatlantic ones.
And then the next one, so it's definitely a gentler way to adjust to jet lag. Now, we've done both the eastbound and the westbound. This one coming up is our second westbound. So that's a hint right there. That was my favorite way to go. The reason there is that you still get the jet lag when you fly to London, but you kind of get over that in like a day or two. And then the whole way back, coming back to the US, you're gaining an hour almost every single night. So you get longer days, you feel more rested. We were waking up some mornings like 5, 6, 7 in the morning, like up, ready to go, well rested. Compared to the eastbound where you start the trip more refreshed because you don't have to fly right across the pond.
Right.
But you do end up with those 23-hour days because you're losing an hour as you get to Europe. So it just felt a little bit more rough in terms of like you're not getting as much sleep. The days felt shorter. It felt like we weren't able to do as much. But either way you slice it, it's a nicer way to ease into the jet lag compared to flying.
Obviously, this is the American perspective.
Yes.
If you're starting in Europe, think the opposite. So when you're heading west, you're starting your trip refreshed.
Correct.
24-hour days. There's not going to be any jet lag. Obviously, when you go home, you'll have to recover, right?
But at least with that, like once you're home, you're home. It's a lot easier to recover than trying to start your vacation that way.
Or conversely, if you're starting in Europe, you can fly to the US, get the jet lag over with, and then you can slowly go back home. Downside is we're talking 23-hour sailing days now. But by the time you get back to Europe, you won't be jet lagged because you would have been recovered. You would have slowly acclimated to it. So that's a big benefit.
Yeah.
All right, reason number 5, you really get to know the crew. So with more sea days, you're going to be chatting with more servers, more bartenders, stateroom hosts. So you really get to know them for longer. So like as an example, in one of the first sailings, by day 2 or 3, I think they already knew that I liked like some of the more, I kept asking for like a side of spicy sauce, right? Because with a lot of the food, you don't get like a lot of spices, right? So I think by day 3, 4, they would just bring me like a side of sriracha or sambal every day. They get to know your drink, so you're not even expecting it. It's just gonna be served. So you really get to know everybody. If you like drinking around like all the different bars, they're gonna get to know your preferences halfway through it because you're gonna see a lot of the same servers, same bartenders. And so it just makes it a little bit more special because you really get acquainted with the crew.
All right, and then number 6, so more free things, free drinks, free goodies, and extra special touches that you're not going to get on those shorter sailings. So On both of the Transatlantics we've done, they have a captain's reception and then also another night. I forget exactly what it's called. On the first one, it was the 25th anniversary celebration. But on this most recent Eastbound, there was also a second night where you get free drinks, which, you know, that's unheard of on most cruise lines, especially Disney. So they walk around with trays of like free drinks, both alcoholic and non, so available to everybody. And then if you do like the collecting the bracelet charms, there's more of those available. I think there were like 5 to 10 of those.
Lots of almost every
almost every day.
All sea days. I think I remember seeing.
Yeah, and then just different surprise treats sprinkled throughout the cruise. So just more opportunities to get some more of those special touches.
Theme nights. I mean, you're gonna on these transatlantic ones because you're 14 days on the boat. There's just gonna be a lot more theming, right? When you do some of these, for example, 3-day Bahamian sailings, all you get is like Pirate Night. That's like the special one, right? Unless you're doing like one of those Marvel sailings or Halloween ones, right? You're only getting like one special night, really. But on these transatlantic ones, you get to see it all. So you're gonna experience. You have your Pirate Night, which usually includes like the 2 shows. You got the Pirates of the Caribbean and the normal Mickey show. You get a semi-formal night. You get a formal night. You get the deck parties like the Mickey's Color Spin. And then there's just going to be a lot more activities happening. A lot more variety of like the live music. All kinds of crafts. Trivia, talk about trivia. There's going to be trivias for everything.
Every day.
Because they can fit everything, right? So like if you're into music trivias, you're going to get every decade on these ones because they have the days to accommodate it.
Yeah.
Or like on the shorter ones, they're more selective on some of these. So, you know, if you're concerned about getting bored, that's not going to happen because they're bringing in a lot more entertainment. So, more options for that.
Yeah. And then number 8, this is my favorite part of doing a transatlantic. You just get more time to relax and enjoy the ship. So my favorite part of these long sailings are the sea days. The port stops are nice, but there's just something about being out on the ocean with nowhere to be, nothing that you have to do unless you want to. And you just get a chance to really relax. You can send your kids to the kids club. You can go do all the activities with them if you want. Whatever you want to do, you can make it what you want. And you have 7 or 8 days straight of just doing whatever you feel like doing and seeing all that the ship has to offer. Whereas on like a 3-day sailing, for example, you might not get to try all the restaurants. You might not get to go swimming. You know, there's a lot of things you're going to miss. This just gives you a chance to do everything that you want to do.
Yeah, or if you have like a bad weather day,
yes,
you just lost like a full opportunity. In the transatlantics, I'm not saying that all the days are perfect, but there's just more opportunity to experience or make up if you miss on one of the days.
Yes.
And then just go along with that. Reason number 9 is you get to try every restaurant, every imaginable menu. So, yes, it's 14 days, but the menus actually don't repeat. Each day, it's going to be something different. And with Disney, you know, they do the rotational dining menu. You get to eat at each place, what, like 4 times? At least 4 times?
Yeah, I think at least 3, and then 1 might, 4, 3, whatever
3 times
that
4,
math is.
yeah. So
it's a lot of nights at the restaurants.
Yeah, so you really get to know them, right? If you do a three night sailing, you know, those are nice, but you're only going to go to each restaurant once.
And even on
7 days, you're doing it twice.
And even on like some of the bigger ships coming out, like we were originally going to do the Adventure maiden voyage. That's a 3-day sailing. You're not even going to make it to all of the restaurants on that one because there's just so many and there's not enough days.
Right. So basically, yeah. On this ones, you're going to try just about every special menu will be included. And then the final reason, this is really one of my favorite ones, is it's an easy way to extend your vacation.
Yes. And we've done that both times now, and we're doing it this time. So the first time we sailed, I'm getting confused now. So when we did the first Westbound, we flew to London like the day before the cruise, came back to Florida, and then, or no, we went to New York that time. And we stayed in New York for like a night and enjoyed that. When we did the Eastbound, we started in Florida and we flew over there and then we went to Disneyland Paris. So that was a nice add-on. This time, because we're ending in Florida, here's a little reveal, we're actually going to be going to Universal Studios and visiting Epic Universe for the first time.
So yes, if you start in the US, you get to start your vacation in Europe, so you can visit the European theme parks. So if you've never been to Disneyland Paris, great opportunity. Conversely, if you're starting in Europe, coming to the US, you get to extend your trip by visiting Disney World, Universal Disney, one of the other ones. So yeah, you get to extend your vacation, spend some time in the US, and then you just fly back home. So yeah, think of it as a one-way ticket. Whereas if, unless you live in a port town, you're gonna have to buy a round trip. With this one, you're just buying a one-way, right? Because on one of the directions, it takes you either to a destination or back home. So in closing, those are the top 10 reasons that we like in closing, those are the top 10 reasons that we prefer transatlantic cruisings. And honestly, once you do once, you're not going to want to go back to a shorter one.
Yeah, especially like we just did that 3-day Carnival cruise. That felt so quick compared to the longer ones we've done. It feels like you're getting on, you do a couple things, and then you're literally getting right off. Whereas these ones, you really get to settle in and just enjoy everything.
So yes, so if you're already planning your first one or you've already sailed Transatlantics, love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Tell us what are your favorite parts of doing Transatlantics.
Or if you have the opposite opinion, if you think Transatlantics are too long, you prefer the shortest ones, let us know why also.
Yeah, let us know why.
Yeah.
We're curious. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.